hello, my name is Dino, and today we're going to be talking about balls. Pokeballs, of course. Sorry if your parents were in the room when I said that. Don't worry, we're just talking about Pokemon and their balls. No, sorry. You read the title, you know what we're doing. I made 41 new Pokeballs and I drew them up and everything, and now I'm going to show them all to you and tell you what they do. Also, do you like my nose ring? It's not real, but I never wear it, so I thought I'd wear it for this video. The novice ball. So the way I went about making all these new balls, don't bother counting how many times I say balls in this video, it will be a very weird tally that will go on for far too long. The way I went about creating these Pokeballs was by just scrolling through the list of already existing Pokeballs on Bulbapedia and then creating counterparts or inverses to each of them. Although there are quite a few Pokeballs in here that are just entirely their own thing, so stick around to see those. But for this first one, I wanted to create essentially the opposite of a Master Ball. But then I was like, well, I guess that's just like a regular Pokeball, right? Right. But then I had an idea. Two ideas, to be exact. The first idea being the Novice Ball. It's a brown Pokeball that has a 0.5x catch rate multiplier on every single Pokemon that you throw it at. So it's going to be 50% worse at catching Pokemon than a regular Pokeball. This Pokeball exists mainly just to have a brown Pokeball, which, as someone that likes to match the Pokeball to whatever I'm catching, I find myself wanting a brown Pokeball way more often than you'd think. Also, when I showed this Pokeball to my sister, she just said poop ball and then left my room without saying another word, so please don't call it a poop ball in the comments. I will cry. I imagine that in universe, these Pokeballs are like the equivalent to toy guns for us, right? Like your kid comes up to you and is like, hey, can I have a Pokeball? I want to catch a Pokemon so that I can partake in overthrowing an international crime syndicate. So then you're like, all right, little Timmy, if you can catch a Pokemon with this Pokeball, you can go fight the local mob boss. And then you give them a Novice Ball, which might snag them a Pokemon, but like realistically, they're only gonna get a Caterpie, so they can't do any real damage. Oh, and if you were curious, if you threw this ball at a level 5 Caterpie that is full health, you'd have about a 49% chance of catching it. So it's about a 50-50 chance of your 10-year-old taking on the neighborhood terrorists. The Luck Ball. So as I mentioned, I had two ideas for an inverse Master Ball, and my other idea was for the real masochists out there. I see you, Gen 1 shiny hunters. I see you. See, I didn't want to make a Pokeball that was just flat out impossible to catch a Pokemon in. I thought about it, but then I was like, it wouldn't like make much sense in universe or in game, so it wouldn't get any real use. So I instead decided on a Pokeball that was almost impossible to catch a Pokemon in. But this time not because you're a novice and bad at throwing Pokeballs, but because this Pokeball would only catch for the luckiest of Pokemon trainers, aka me, because as we all know, I'm the luckiest person in the world. This is the Luck Ball, and I tried to get the clovers to look good. I really did. Just perspective is not my thing. This ball has a flat 0.07% chance of you catching whatever you're throwing it at. So whether you're trying to catch a level 100 Metagross or a level 1 Caterpie, you will always have a 1 out of 1,429 chance of catching it. Meaning you have a better chance of finding a shiny with a shiny charm than you do of actually catching said shiny with this Pokeball. Oh, and did I forget to mention that the odds of catching it don't go up no matter how much damage you do or if you put this thing to sleep or not. Also, you can't get a crit capture with this thing, so best of luck to you. The Slow Ball. The Slow Ball is the inverse of course, the Fast Ball. And oh my god, that's enough of that bit. Sorry. Don't worry if those last two Pokeballs took a long time to talk about, because ironically enough, this segment is going to be a lot faster. Same with the next, like, 20. You can see how long the video is, don't worry. The Slow Ball has a 4x catch rate modifier if the Pokemon you're throwing it at has a base speed stat of 40 or lower, and then just a 1x modifier for everything else. As far as the design goes, I made the colors a dark cyan and navy blue, and changed the lightning bolt design on the fastball to just a flat lying down rectangle, because I thought it fit. The Underlevel Ball. The Underlevel Ball is the opposite of course, the Level Ball. So basically, the lower your Pokemon's level is in comparison to the Pokemon that you're trying to catch is, the better odds you have of catching it. So say you're trying to catch a level 100 Pokemon. If the Pokemon that you have out on the field is also level 100, this thing will have a catch rate modifier of just 1. By the way, I'm gonna start saying CRM instead of catch rate modifier from here on out to make things a little bit easier on myself. If your Pokemon is between the levels 51 and 99 when trying to catch this level 100 Pokemon, the ball has a CRM of 2x. If your Pokemon is between the levels 26 and 50, you have a catch rate modifier of 4x. And if your Pokemon's level is 25 or lower, you have a CRM of 8x. Hopefully that was easy to understand. Also for the design, I just flipped the arrow upside down so that it's, showing you're meant to be catching higher level Pokemon with this thing. And I wish you the best of luck catching your level 65 Garchomp that won't obey you until the Elite Four. The Light Ball. Now I don't mean light as in I mean light as in lightweight, aka the opposite of the heavy ball. The TLDR on this ball is the lighter weight the Pokemon you're throwing it at is, the better odds you have of catching it. If you want the specific numbers though, I'll put them up here on screen along with the heavy balls for comparison. For the design, I was originally going to try and make the little balls that are on the outside of the heavy ball go inwards, but again, perspective, not my thing. I couldn't get the shading right. I could not make it look natural. So instead, I gave up on that and I instead went for this little band that goes around the top part of the Pokeball that also is like 3D and bumps out just like the heavy ball. Other than that, the colors are meant to be light and airy so that you associate them with, being lightweight. And don't try to catch a Metagross with this thing because you will not have a fun time. The Hate Ball. The Love Ball has a CRM of 8x when used on a Pokemon that is the same species as your Pokemon but the opposite gender. Now I could go the heteronormative toxic route and make it so that the Hate Ball is 8 times as effective when used on a Pokemon of the same species and same gender as your Pokemon, because surely 2 Pokemon of the same gender couldn't be friends or lovers, you know. They're too busy competing for the attention of the opposite sex. But I'm not gonna go that route because I don't like it. So instead, the Hate Ball will be 8 times as effective when used on a Pokemon that has a canon, like rivalry or enemyship with the Pokemon that you have out on the field. So if you're trying to catch a level 20 Zangoose and you have a Scyther out on the field, you will have a 95.5% chance of catching it in the Hate Ball, regardless of either Pokemon's gender. Other known Pokemon rivalries that I admittedly didn't do that much research into, so take them all with a grain of salt, include Mew and Mewtwo, Kyogre and Groudon, Cresselia and Darkrai, Heatmor and Durant, Reshiram and Zekrom, Koraidon and the other Koraidon, and same with the Miraidons, Zangoose and Scyther, as mentioned earlier, and of course everyone's favorite girl boss, Tinkaton and Corviknight. There's a lot more than just these though, and if I list them all out, we will be here all day. So pause if you want to read all of the canon rivalries and let me know if I missed any in the comments. I only included rivalries that involve fighting for territory, fighting for food, or just fighting because they hate each other. I left out exclusively predator-prey relationships because otherwise this list would be so much longer than it already is. The Rainbow Ball. But you didn't think I was just gonna stop with the Hate Ball, did you? No, no, no. Introducing the Rainbow Ball. And it's 2 variants, because I couldn't decide on which version I liked more. It has a CRM of 8x when thrown at any Pokemon with the same gender as the Pokemon that you have out on the field, with the exception of genderless Pokemon, which have an 8x CRM no matter what your Pokemon's gender is. I was originally going to make this only 8 times as effective with Pokemon that share an egg group with the Pokemon you have, but you know what? Screw that. You do not need to have a child or be able to reproduce with someone in order to validate your relationship with them. So we're doing away with that concept too. So if you want to catch that level 20 Magnemite with a female Florigato at the front of your party, you have a 100% chance of catching it. Trying to catch a male Pyroar with your own male Pyroar out front? That works too. A female Roserade and a female Dugong? I don't know why those were the first 2 Pokemon to come to my mind as examples for lesbians, but that's actually so cute. I think I'm gonna draw them as humans later. I'll post it to my community tab when I do that. The Enemy Ball. With the exception of a lot of legendaries, whenever you catch a Pokemon, its friendship will be automatically set to a level between 35 and 140. The base friendship for most Pokemon when caught is 50, but when caught in an already existing friend ball, their friendship is set to 150 or 200 depending on the generation. With the Enemy Ball, however, their friendship is automatically set to 0 regardless of what their base friendship was beforehand. Also, I made the color scheme on this one kind of edgy, but it's perfect for all you shiny Charizard stands out there, so you're welcome. And just like the already existing friend ball, it has a CRM of 1x. The Sun Ball. As you may have guessed, the Sun Ball is the opposite of the existing Moon Ball. The Sun Ball has a CRM of 4x when used on any Pokemon that belongs to an evolutionary line that contains a Sunstone evolution. And this goes for any Pokemon in that evolutionary line, so it's just as effective at catching a Whimsicott as it is a Cottonee. I went for the astronomical symbol for the sun instead of like a standard cartoon sun design for the top, because 1, that's what the Moon Ball does, and 2, couldn't get the perspective right, so I gave up. The Star Ball. I considered making different Pokeballs for all of the evolutionary stones available in the games, but I figured a lot of them would overlap with the type-based Pokeballs that I'll introduce to you pretty soon, with the exception of the Shiny Stone, because just like the Sun and Moon Stone, there's no like overarching theme in those evolutionary lines. So behold, the Star Ball. It ties into the whole Sun and Moon dynamic really well, and also just works for the Shiny Stone, I feel. And just like the Sun Ball, the Star Ball has a CRM of 4x when used on a Pokemon that belongs to an evolutionary line that evolves with a Shiny Stone, like Minccino and Cinccino, or however you say them, I don't know. And once again, I used the only astronomical symbol for just star I could find. Also, before I move on to the next Pokeball, please make sure that you're subscribed, because YouTube has already begun doing the thing where it just automatically unsubscribes people. I did not think that it was real, but I've gotten so many comments being like, I'm sure I was subscribed to you yesterday, and now I'm just not for some reason. Also, you should like the video while you're down there if you're liking the video, and leave a comment on your favorite Pokeball so far, because it's a quick and free way to support me, and it helps me out so much more than you would think. Okay, thank you. The Moss Ball. We're now at the part of the list where I had the most fun, the type-based balls. So the Netball is a Pokeball that has a 3.5x CRM when used on a water or bug-type Pokemon. And I think it's about time that every other type in the game got their own Pokeball as well. Beginning with the Moss Ball, a ball that I'm so desperate to have that it inspired this entire video. The Moss Ball is, as you might expect, super good at catching grass-type Pokemon. And it also just gives us a nice green Pokeball. It's like the Safari Ball, but without the brown bits in it, and you can use it anywhere. So like, it's perfect. Also, for all the type balls I'm about to talk about, they all have a catch rate modifier of 3.5x for their respective types, and then just a 1x CRM for everything else. And I'm just saying that now so that I don't have to keep repeating myself. The Neutral Ball. The Neutral Ball is, surprise, surprise, good at catching normal type Pokemon. And you know what? It's about time that the normal types got something other than a rodent on Route 1. Granted, it's not the most exciting Pokeball I've made, but honestly, that's okay. We need a nice plain Pokeball just gray and black. There's no color on it. It's perfect and works so well with shiny Mimikyu. Oh my god. The freezer ball. The freezer ball is of course good at containing ice types. And despite it seemingly being frozen over, it is perfectly usable and ice types love it. It's basically a frozen Premier Ball, but with a blue core instead of red. And also I'm just now kind of realizing that it looks like, you know when you throw a Pokeball in a Terra Raid den to catch the Pokemon and it like crystallizes midair? It looks just like that. So that's honestly perfect. We already have a 3D model for it. Also, I'm realizing it kind of looks like my favorite cup. The lava ball. The lava ball is good at catching fire types. And this is also where I began to deviate from the flat color art style of Pokemon a little bit, specifically with the band of lava. Don't worry, I don't get too crazy. I tried to make all these designs look as believable as possible, but I just couldn't help myself on making the lava look a little bit more dynamic. Also, the actual ball part of this Pokeball is meant to resemble volcanic rock, mostly in its color, because I thought that worked. The wire ball. And 4 others. So when I was making the ball that would be good at housing electric types, I kind of lost my mind a little bit. My first idea was the metal ball, a Pokeball that would act as like a conductor container of electricity, but I was really struggling to make it look right. I did go back and make it though, obviously, but then I got the idea to change it to a copper ball because lightning rods are most commonly made of copper, at least in Minecraft, so I made the copper ball. But then I thought it would be fun to make an oxidized copper ball because I like the color a lot. And then I thought, well, what about a copper ball that's like mid-oxidization? So I made that too, and it's kind of in like the vague outline of where your hand would be on the ball, which, you know, I thought was pretty creative. But then I was like, I feel like if you took a copper ball, caught an electric Pokemon inside of it, and then grabbed the copper ball, you'd get electrocuted real fast. You're not supposed to go around touching lightning rods, you know, especially while lightning is attached to it. And this all led to me making the wire ball. The color and design of it is inspired by when you cut open like a big casing of wires. I don't know the right word for it. And then there's a bunch of tinier wires inside, all covered in this like multicolored plastic sheathing, with the actual conductor of the wire inside being made of copper. And then I got the idea for this. It's very fun. I like the design, I like the colors, and I accidentally spoiled the electric type with 5 Pokeballs. Oops. The exercise ball. I had to. I'm sorry. The exercise ball, as you might have guessed, is good at catching fighting types, and it was the only thing I could think of that was like, you know, like fight, punch, sport related, and could also be worked into a Pokeball, other than those tiny punching bags where you like, go crazy on them, you know? But I feel like that wouldn't have made for as good of a design. And so I made this. Jokes aside, I am really proud of how this came out. Also, I just love exercise balls so much. They're like a comfort item for me for some reason. They're kind of weird, but like in a good way. I don't know. My mother also thinks I'm weird as hell, so don't worry. The glass ball. I love this Pokeball design so much. So the glass ball is good at catching fairy type Pokemon. And this is because I was thinking like, what would be good at capturing and containing a fairy? And at first I thought of my spell jars, and then I thought of those white people that take fairy lights and put them in like glass mason jars. Also, I have a necklace that is a little glass jar with a little fairy in it. My grandma gave it to me. I love it very much. I don't know where it is. And like, I feel like it just works so well, you know? You catch a little fairy, you put it in a little glass jar, you piss off a little fairy tribe, you get a little curse put on you. It's all fun. Also, look at the transparency of it. I love PNGs, man. Moving on. The sediment ball. The sediment ball, which I just realized I'm accidentally cosplaying. How did that happen? The sediment ball is good at catching rock and ground type Pokemon. It's a nice tan color. It's just fun to look at, I think. Brown is one of my favorite colors. I know it's not that popular, but I love the color brown. So this Pokeball is very good for me. And I just wanted to appreciate it with you. The crystal ball. Okay, it's another one that's kind of like the exercise ball, but now we have the crystal ball. The crystal ball is good at catching psychic type Pokemon, and the design is solely inspired by this one photo of a pretty stereotypical crystal ball that you might see in a movie or at Michael's craft store around Halloween. And I did the thing with the transparency again, but only for the top shell this time. And I'm once again very proud of what I've done. Also, new purple Pokeball that isn't a Master Ball, so you're welcome. The arrow ball. Not arrow like bow and arrow. Why did I pantomime such a tiny bow and arrow? I used to teach archery. I know how to shoot a bow and arrow. Okay, but no, I mean arrow like aeronautical or relating to the sky. And if these colors look familiar to you, it's probably because I ripped them straight from the Strange Ball, an unobtainable Pokeball that only exists when housing a Pokemon originally caught in Hisui and has been transferred to a game that takes place in the modern day, or in Pokemon Home, because they didn't make custom Hisui and Pokeball sprites, which honestly I don't blame them for. But I, as many others, love the Strange Ball colors and want the Strange Ball to be real so that we can catch anything in it. So here you go. Here's the arrow ball. It's good at catching flying type Pokemon and it can be used anywhere. So You're welcome, again. The treasure ball. Okay, next to the glass ball and the moss ball, this is probably my favorite Pokeball that I've created in this video. The treasure ball is good at catching dragon-type Pokemon because, you know, dragons love treasure and shiny things, and I'm just now realizing that I'm definitely a dragon because I'm a big reptile that loves treasure and shiny things. Dragons are just fantasy dinosaurs. But yeah, dragons are known to sleep on piles of treasure and gold, and it gave me an excuse to make a solid gold Pokeball, and I love this thing so much. And I know that I'm, again, departing from the art style, right? We're not working with black line art here, but it's just so good. It just works so well. The magnet ball. Look, it's another Pokeball with letters on it. The magnet ball is effective at catching steel-type Pokemon because it acts as a big magnet. The design is simple. It's inspired by those classic north-south magnets that you might have seen in like 7th grade science class. It's nice, I like the colors, and it's perfect for Magnemite, which is awesome because I love that little guy. The Dire Ball. Rounding off the type-dependent Pokeballs, we have the Dire Ball. Good for catching dark and poison-type Pokemon. I couldn't really figure out a good design for either of these two types on their own, but when I combine them together, it just works so well. It's not my most ambitious work, but the purple poison, as you can hopefully tell by the shading, again, perspective, is actually like 3D and it kind of bumps out a bit, so that's fun. And yeah. That's all I have to say about that. The Dig Ball. So the Dive Ball is one of, if not my favorite Pokeball in the game, mainly in terms of aesthetics, and I have always wanted a yellow dive ball so badly, and so I made one. The Dig Ball has a 3.5x CRM when used on a Pokemon that you encountered underground, such as in the Grand Underground or a low-level cave, and an X and Y outside the power plant where those Trapinch will just like dig up to you and then you step on them like a landmine. Exceptions to this include Pokemon that are encountered in or on water, even if it's underground, and air-dwelling Pokemon, once again, even if they're found underground, which brings us to our next Pokeball, the Fly Ball. As you've probably figured out by now, the Fly Ball follows the same 2-turn TM naming scheme as the Fly and Dig Ball, except now it's 3.5x more effective at catching air-dwelling Pokemon. Air-dwelling Pokemon for this Pokeball are classified as any Pokemon with the flying type, any Pokemon that can learn the move Fly, any Pokemon that can have the Levitate ability, any Wild Terra flying Pokemon, and the Mightyena line for some strange reason. Also, the Pokeball is of course just a green version of the Dive Ball, another variant that I've wanted for a while, but less than the yellow one. The Fresh Ball. The Repeat Ball is good for catching Pokemon that you already have registered to your Pokedex, but we don't really have anything that's good for exclusively Pokemon that you haven't registered to your Pokedex before. So here is the Fresh Ball. It has a 3.5x CRM on any Pokemon that you do not have registered to your Pokedex, and this is mainly just to use whenever a Quick Ball fails you. I took the circles from the Repeat Ball and just made them horizontal this time and changed up the colors a little bit, and boom, the Fresh Ball. The Squalor Ball. To live in squalor means to live in dirty or unkempt surroundings, so basically the opposite of living in luxury, which is why the Squalor Ball is the opposite of the Luxury Ball. When you catch a Pokemon in a Luxury Ball, the rate at which its friendship increases is doubled, but since this is the Squalor Ball, when you catch a Pokemon in this Pokeball, the rate at which its friendship is gained is halved. So there's really no reason to catch a Pokemon in this Pokeball outside of the aesthetics of it, and I think in universe you would not be able to buy this thing at a shop. You would exclusively be able to find them in trash cans, and then like wild Trubbish can be holding it sometimes, which honestly I kind of vibe with. I am a chronic trash can checker in any game that I am put into. I always get so upset when they're empty. The Dawn Ball. You probably all saw this Pokeball coming. The Dawn Ball is of course the opposite of the existing Dusk Ball. It is a catch rate modifier of 3x when used outside during the day or in battle where there is harsh sunlight on the turn that you throw the ball. I'm honestly surprised that there hasn't been a canon in-game counterpart to the Dusk Ball introduced yet. Like, it just feels so natural. Also, I hope you like the colors on this thing. It took me so much longer than it should have, but I think it paid off. The Hurt Ball. So the Heal Ball is a ball that when you catch a Pokemon in it, it is automatically healed up to full if it took any damage during the battle, and also any status conditions it may have had upon catching are cured. The Hurt Ball, on the other hand, automatically sets the Pokemon's HP to 1, and depending on which variant of the Hurt Ball you throw at it, that is the status condition that it will receive. I was originally going to have it just automatically faint the Pokemon, but I wanted it to be able to be used by Nuzlockers in this hypothetical canon where these are real. Also, you get 5 variants of the Hurt Ball this way, and I just think it's a lot funnier for some reason. I don't know why. The Nightmare Ball. So the Nightmare Ball is of course the opposite of the Dream Ball, but I was having trouble figuring out like how this ball would be effective at catching because the Dream Ball has a CRM of 4x when used on a sleeping Pokemon. So the opposite of that would be use it on a Pokemon that is awake for the Nightmare Ball, but that doesn't make a lot of sense because one, obviously awake Pokemon are going to be way more common than catching a sleeping Pokemon, and I wanted to keep this kind of niche, but also I wanted this to be the Nightmare Ball because that's the opposite of dreams, and you kind of need to be asleep to have a nightmare. Unless you're daydreaming, I guess, but I feel like if you're zoning out and immediately having like vivid nightmares, I'd maybe just go to therapy. So TLDR, instead of this Pokeball being effective on Pokemon that are awake or just sleeping Pokemon, the Nightmare Ball has a 4x CRM when used on a sleeping Pokemon while you have a dark type Pokemon out on the field. This is mostly inspired by Darkrai's whole thing of causing people in Pokemon to have horrific nightmares just by like existing near them. And Darkrai is, unsurprisingly, a dark type, so I feel like it fit. Also, the design is somewhat inspired by the Nightmare Before Christmas movie poster, because fun fact about me, I have watched The Nightmare Before Christmas 369 times. Nice. And no, that's not an exaggeration. I keep a tally on my phone, and yes, I am on the autism spectrum. Moving on. The rare ball. So I have expressed my frustration at the lack of an orange Pokeball a couple times before. So of course I had to make an orange Pokeball for this video. But the thing with orange Pokeballs is that we were going to have one at one point, the GS ball, but it never fully made it out of the anime. Mostly because the writers of said anime just dropped the plotline completely, and thus the GS ball was lost to time. But I think I speak on behalf of the entire Pokemon community when I say justice for the GS ball. Anyways, here's the rare ball. It's the best shade of orange, a nice saturated cantaloupe, if you will. And it has a catch rate modifier of 5x when used on a legendary or mythical Pokemon, not including Ultra Beasts. It has a 0.1x CRM on Ultra Beasts and a 1x CRM on everything else. So in this way, it's like somewhat of a counterpart to the Beast Ball, which has a 5x CRM on Ultra Beasts and a 0.1x catch rate on everything else. But the whole being good at catching mythicals and legendaries thing is mainly a nod to the fact that the GS Ball was originally going to house Celebi in the Pokemon Journeys anime, the Shed Ball. Okay, I think I lied earlier, like 1 or 2 times. This is my favorite Pokeball that I've ever made. The Shed Ball, as you might have been able to guess from its appearance and name, is a Pokeball that is only able to hold Shedinja. If you try and throw it at a wild Pokemon, it will never catch unless you're doing like some randomizer thing where you can encounter a Shedinja in the wild, in which case it works like a Master Ball and catches Shedinja 100% of the time. But that's not its intended purpose. Shedinja, if you don't know, is a Pokemon that you get when you evolve Nincada into Ninjask, and it is the only Pokemon evolution as of recording where you get 2 Pokemon from evolving 1. And the way that you get Shedinja when you evolve Nincada is by having 1 slot open in your party and at least 1 regular Pokeball in your bag. But I love Shedinja and Nincada and Ninjask. The whole line is just so very near and dear to me. So I think that Shedinja deserves a Pokeball of its own. So now when you evolve Nincada and you have 1 slot open in your party, as long as you have a Shed Ball in your bag, the Shedinja will automatically go into the Shed Ball. I'm very proud of this design. The colors are ripped straight from Shedinja's official artwork. The little white crescent shape is meant to symbolize Shedinja's halo thing, and the little band and button around the middle are meant to mimic Shedinja's eyes, because in addition to looking like Jingle Bells, Shedinja's eyes also just look like a Pokeball, which I didn't notice before until I made this video. The final ball. The final ball of this video is not actually called the final ball. I just wanted to, introduce it to you face to face. The final Pokeball of this video is the Dino Ball. That's right, all of you over the years that have told me to grow a pair, I just did. The Dino Ball is themed around my little character, like my brand colors and stuff like that, and of course my Minecraft skin. So it's got the 2 little golden horns, it has the leaf sprouting out from the top. The top shell is of course my signature 8-bit dino blue, and the button bit in the middle is meant to imitate the pixel daisy that I have on my shirt. This ball has a 100% catch rate on all of my favorite Pokemon and any Pokemon that I deem to resemble a dinosaur in some way. And I'm not going to list them all because we will be here for a while, so I'm just gonna say, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, subscribe, and you'll figure it out pretty soon. I am very vocal about my favorite Pokemon. Let me know which one of these Pokeballs are your favorite, and also let me know any fake Pokeball ideas you have in the comments. Also, I have an awesome Discord server where you can share photos of your fake Pokeballs if you make them. You can also share fan art, regular art, as long as nothing is NSFW. And also you can just hang out, have a fun time. Share pictures of your pets with us. We love seeing everyone's pets. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I love you so much. Goodbye! I'm taking the nose ring out. Okay, all right, we're good. It's 2 little magnets, but they kind of hurt after a while.